Hi, I'm delighted to be sitting here in Takapuna at the moment in Art by the Sea, which is this wonderful studio, and I have with me Nathalie Pearce, who is one of our ex-students, so thank you for coming along and chatting.
Pleasure.
I'm thrilled, and I'm also very excited to know about what you've been up to. Nathalie did some training with us a while ago, and I know she's had a very exciting 12 months with all the pictures she's been doing. So tell me all about it. Where did your passion for photography come from?
I think I've always had it. I loved black and white photography.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
Just a medium that I just thought had so much intensity and depth with a monochrome palette. And then in 2012, my husband bought me my first real camera, and we were going to Italy, and so that was me. I was gone. So and just what has so much more fun. Trying to see the world through a very small lens and looking at interesting ways to capture Italy rather than the usual kind of tourist shots, so the architecture and just all the wonderful things that you notice in Italy but aren't necessarily on a postcard type photograph. So that was really when I guess my passion and the means to be able to orchestrate that came together. But in reality, it wasn't until 2020 when we were deeply ensconced in our homes with COVID and the lockdown that I decided that I needed some joy in my life. And I had the most fabulous opportunity with the lockdown.
I think a lot of people were like that, weren't they?
Yeah, and so I did online courses in photography, and that just whetted my appetite to sort of really understand my camera a lot more. Take it off auto, and to really start to focus. And so I decided to set myself a bit of a challenge and see how many photographs I could take, and mostly around where I lived in Devonport, and obviously keeping my distance from everyone, but North Head, Mount Victoria, they were my happy kind of stomping grounds when I went out for a walk, and just took my camera. So that was the beginning, and then I set up my online gallery, 1,000 Blooms, and I was away really.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very cool. So the whole of that COVID period gave you the opportunity to take the photos. You then started thinking, having the mindset, perhaps I could do this more commercially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All those very cliche sayings about make your passion your profession. So I had some kind of personal loss that happened in COVID as well, and so it really kind of amplified the need to to make the most of the time that we're here, and to make sure that I had some creative elements happening in my life, which I'd kind of been away from for a very long time.
I think something like that also helps you get over personal grief and that sort of thing, doesn't it? Gives you a new perspective on things. I love the name 1,000 Blooms.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration for that?
It was really around a couple of things. There's a saying about kind of setting 1,000 wishes out there, and so there's kind of I think a Chinese saying around that. But really, it was about practice makes perfect, and just committing myself to taking photo after photo after photo in order to create something beautiful ultimately through getting better and better at my craft. So it was kind of a sort of a leap into the unknown and putting it out there, but also about really committing to the craft rather than it being a hobby, making it something more intentional and professional, and that's obviously where I bumped into Three Little Wishes and Mark in my intensive 1 week photography course, which was take me from all I know from my online course into
did that really sort of, I mean, obviously it helped, but you had the talent there to begin with, but it was sort of about giving you the technical aspect of how to use the camera?
Yeah, a little bit of technical, but I think the thing, and I had Mark Ryan as my tutor on that course, and the thing that Mark does extremely well is, so he exudes optimism for your work, no matter how good it is, and so he kind of breathes confidence into you, which I think when you're relatively new in the space and you've got a very high inner critic, which I do, it's very hard, it's very easy, I should say, to fall into the trap of nothing. You know, I'm not good enough. This isn't working. And I think with Mark, he was a great foil for that. He saw, he saw the good points in what you were doing, and I think as human beings we gravitate to the negative points in what we're doing. So I think, obviously Mark has this vast amount of technical knowledge, vast amount of experience as a professional photographer, forensic photographer, photographer for the rich and famous kind of thing. And so, having someone with that level of competency and professionalism just sort of be so confident and positive about your work, I think, to me was pivotal. As part of that course, if that was the core part of his role, was his students leaving there thinking that it was possible for them to make the leap. I think that was, for me, the most significant
I think that's
gift.
It's always been a huge thing for him. I think it's always been a huge thing for us as well, really, that we want to know that anyone who comes along and does a course actually leaves feeling confident. I think it would be a terrible, terrible thing to knock somebody's confidence and talent, Yeah. It's all about bringing it out, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, the pictures behind us, wonderful. This one of Ragland, and the other one in Takapuna. You've sold actually quite a lot of images now, haven't you? A lot of photographs at this gallery.
Yeah, Mike and Linda at Art by the Sea have been huge supporters of me, and I've had a solo exhibition last year, which was extremely exciting for me, and they continue to hold my work, and it sells through. And I'm still kind of, I think I always will be continuing to kind of develop my perspective on the world, which tends to be, focused on the obvious. Particularly with this one, no one really takes too much time to take a photo of a tree trunk and of the, this one's called Coexistence because of the beautiful moss and that's growing on this Pohutakawa tree. Most people think about the Pohutakawa tree and they think of the flowers and everything, but to me it was like finding the beauty in all things. And reframing how we see the world and re-examining what we take for granted and sort of just bringing that back into the foreground so that people do appreciate what we've got. So it's also, I like to think of my work, particularly my nature work, as silent activism as well, to sort of really putting forward to people how much we take for granted, that we shouldn't take for granted, and that we need to be caretakers for what we have around us to ensure that it's still going to be there in the future. So
and really New Zealand gives you the perfect palette for that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and we're not so great in that space. We have this kind of urban myth that we all live by, that we're all clean and green, and we're far from it, and so yeah, I love to have that silent voice in my work, but both with oceans and with nature as well. Yeah,
very cool. Yeah. What's your favourite type of genre? Is it landscape, flowers?
Yeah,
because I know you've done some beautiful.
Yeah, I love my my sort of midnight garden series, which I actually do inside, and yeah, the sort of ephemeral, you know, flowers coming out of darkness. So I definitely love that. It's a good thing to do in the winter as well. But I love coastal. I'm drawn to the sea and the coast. So I do love the coastline that we have, and obviously I'm originally from the east coast of the South Island, but I love the west coast and the beautiful black sand. And I just took a shot a couple of weeks ago of Hamilton's Gap. I went on a tiki tour around the Whitu Peninsula, around Manukau Heads and the Whitu, and just stunning scenery. Never been there, and yeah, just but yeah, the beautiful iron sand, black wet sand, and surf coming in is
very cool,
amazing. I love it. Yeah.
So, if we have people who are watching this who are very intrigued about your work, where do they go to see it?
Obviously they can, if they're in Auckland, come to Art by the Sea Gallery in Takapuna. They can also, I've got an online gallery which is 1000blooms.co.nz, and they can see my work.
Right.
There.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So what's the plans? How do you see the next couple of years panning out? What would you like it to be? Would you like to go into this full time, or diversify into something else, or what's the plan?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I always like to have a lot going on, so diversity is my friend. Yeah, I'd like to, I tend to do most of my work when I leave town now, which I don't do enough. So as I say, you know, I would like to get back to Europe. I would love to take some photos in Europe because it's so different to New Zealand, different light, different colour palette. So I'd love to, I mean, Italy is my favourite place in the world, so I'd love to get back to there, and the terracottas and the blues, and just love all that richness. So that would be fascinating. That's kind of a dream, to, you know, do the things you're not meant to do when you're my age, and get a minivan and
That's right,
and a camera and roar off around, do my late OE that I never did when I was 18. Yeah, but
and I mean, at the end of the day, you know, then that could be a whole series
Yeah.
of new European pictures that you could sell here.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah,
you'll have an excuse in your mind.
exactly. Yeah, but yeah, just continue to explore. Like to do a lot more black and white. I don't do enough black and white, and yeah, and maybe even do some people. I love character shots. I don't like, you know, anything contrived or posed, but you know, just seeing wonderful local people doing what they're doing and just capturing them in black and white. That would be another kind of area that we'll want to explore as well.
So, based on your experience, having come into the profession and have been very successful, what would your advice to be to somebody who's also looking to set up as a photographer and live their dream, really? How do you think they ought to get started?
Well, I think, you know, the most important thing that you need for anything you decide to do is passion, you know, so because you require that level of intensity, you know, to be successful at whatever you do. So if it's a grind, if it's something you're slightly interested in, then it's probably never going to work. So there's got to be that absolute passion for the space. And then it's just a real commitment to experiment and to not judge your efforts, you know. So it really is. It's a craft, and it's something that's incredibly organic. So just continuing to experiment and see the space that you're starting to gravitate to, because ultimately you need to have an opinion on the world. And I think every artist, maybe has several or not over their creative lifetime, but finding your space, your opinion, your creative opinion, I think is really important. And then really digging in and doing the work, you know. And I hate to think how many thousands of photos that I've taken, you know, to get a very small number of outputs that I was comfortable with.
Thank God it's digital.
Yeah, thank goodness. For me, passion, experimentation, and find your point of view, I think are the most important things. And surround yourself with people who are going to be positive.
Get that
you know, particularly when
inspiration.
you're learning, because it's easy. Many people will inadvertently squash you, you know. So you need to have some real pro people, as in positive supporters in your life, to make sure, you know, to keep the momentum there. Yeah.
Oh no, brilliant. Thank you. It's been very interesting. So thank you for giving us an insight into what you've been up to and how you've succeeded. So very cool.
My pleasure. And you know, I think the 1 week intensive course that I did with you guys was fundamental, you know, for me in terms of making the leap from I kind of like this, isn't this a nice hobby, to actually this is something I want to do and more significantly going forward. And I think just being able to have that experience of that course, and with Mark in particular as my tutor, it really did sort of give me this massive step up.
Oh, I'm really pleased to know that. That's awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.